Okay, so we're going to begin here. What we're going to do now here is we're going to begin by using this non-photo blue. Now what I wanted to say too is, like, if you don't want to download this picture, or you can't because you don't have a printer or whichever, you can practice these techniques on any piece of paper, and then before you put it in your book, or you can color right in your book, because there's a lot of peacock pictures out there. So I'm going to show you how to do really cool peacock leaves. Now the reason I didn't put all the, the traditional peacock with the circles in the middle and everything on here is because if you're a beginner, you might not want to deal with all the peacock colors and all that stuff. So I made it so you could just shade it, or if you just want to go the non-traditional route and not make it a peacock feather kind of thing, and just like start at a darker color and then go up to a lighter color, or make darker tips and go, kind of like the way you do flower petals or whatever. There's so many things you can do with this. So I'm trying to have the best coloring book ever. So I wanted to make the pictures awesome as I could. Okay, enough of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start. Now on peacock feathers, they do have a little area here which has traditionally a nice little, like a round circle or whatever it is. In my case, they're going to be little hearts. And so you got to kind of think about where you're going to want that. And in that, I'm going to start with this non-photo blue here. And I'm going to start making, and you got to have a sharp tip. See how, like, sharp? I mean, you want a sharp tip, right? So start putting in your feathers and just begin by laying them down like so, and just take your time. It doesn't matter how long it takes you to do this picture. The whole point is to relax, de-stress, and have fun, right? Now see how pretty? You just make them, here, let's get closer for one thing. All right, that's better. So just get them in here nice and pretty. Okay, now we are going to use neon yellow. A lot of people are afraid to use neon colors because they just think it's just too wacky, but guess what? It isn't, especially when you're doing bright, vibrant peacock feathers. So we're going to take this neon yellow here, and we're going to put some nice in the tip, same way, because you want a little bit of white in the middle, and then we're going to do the same thing here. Just kind of come down, making like little feathers, and just kind of, they're not really an S shape, but they're kind of like a little S shape. You don't want to make stripes, because if you make stripes, they don't have a flow to it. So you see how I kind of go around and then up, and like just grab it here and come around and up, round and up like this. Not straight across. That just won't give you a really nice look, Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to add some of this orange, okay? And we're going to put some orange in here at the bottom, because peacocks, well, this peacock anyway. Now you could do these in pink, so you can do them in purples, blues, whatever. This is just the ones I'm picking. Okay, and we're going to put some up here. And you got to make sure your pencil has a sharp tip, because if it's not, then there won't be crisp lines, Okay, now we're going to work these as we go along. Okay, now the next color we're going to use is spring green. We're going to take the spring green and we're going to do the same thing. Now we're just basically beginning to layer it on. Okay? Then we're going to add apple green. The cool thing about this picture is you get to use a lot of colors, especially in the leaves, because even though all this area, you can even choose it to be monotone and just all one kind of color palette, but the peacock feathers can always be really nice and bright. I'll do the same picture a bunch of times, especially like before I put this in my book. I could do them all in one color. They could do the whole thing could be monotone, or you could, this is a great picture. I'm bragging about it, but I just really love it. Okay, now, so you see how we've got this, now the graduated of the colors. You can already see how pretty it's coming out. Now what we're going to do is let's start putting in some shading and putting in the love. We're going to grab some peacock green, and now put in these awesome feathers. These are going to stand out more because they're darker. And you can put some closer together, some further apart. And you just have fun with it. Doesn't matter how long it takes you. Okay, now you could start adding a little bit of shading, right? Okay, now this, if you notice, is underneath this little leaf here, right? So what you want to do is you want to add a little bit of shade underneath there, right? Because it is underneath there, and you want to, we're extreme colorists, not average colorists, right? Anybody can just whip something out in 2 seconds, but us, nope, we take our time. We create masterpieces. And by the way, this is be great framed. Be awesome. Put in an 11 by 17 frame with an 8.5 by 11 opening, and then that way it'll be a bigger picture for your wall. It'll be so gorgeous. So just take your time with it, and just know you're creating a beautiful masterpiece and you're having fun. See what I'm doing here? How I'm just adding a little bit more of the detail, adding a little bit of shading on the sides. See, just to create a really pretty feather. Okay, and I'm going in now, see, just like this, just to create that pretty look. Now we're going to take, this is cerulean blue, and we're going to take the cerulean blue now and do the same thing. And we're going to add in some leaves. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to add, this is neon orange, okay? So we're going to mess around with our neon colors finally. Okay, so let's put a couple in here to really make that orange pop out. Maybe you want to put some up here. Okay, now all of these you could do different, you know, have more color, you know, different brighters and darkers and the same colors, but just depending on how much green you put in, or, you know, you'll see as we move along here. When I'm done with it, you'll get it. All right, so now if you notice on Peacocks, they have a little, I'm going to do them in, and well, they're usually circles or whatever. I'm going to do mine in a little heart. Now, I use this pen here. This is a Staedtler permanent pen, and it's a fine tip. And I love it because it's sharp. See how the tip is pointed? Whereas micron pens, which everybody tends to use, are these microns in the industry, so call it, or however, popular colorists, etc. These microns are great, don't get me wrong, but they're flat. See how the tip is flat? Okay, I like a nice pointy tip. Now, you can't do a lot of really fine detail because this is a little bit thicker of a line, and the microns come in various sizes, but it's perfect for what I'm doing now. So what I'm going to do here is, right here in this area is the area where the little hearts are. So we're going to take this pen here and we're going to make a little heart right about where we want. And it's so fun too, because working with this pen, I don't know, it's just satisfying. The feeling of it, I guess. I don't know, I guess I'm a weirdo, but I don't know. I just love it. It feels so good to use it. So we just, see, make a nice little heart. And we're going to do that on every single one of these petals. Can you imagine how gorgeous that's going to be when this whole bottom is done like that? It's going to be awesome. Okay, so now you just take your time and detail. Now, I'm not sure what I want to do on the outside edges here, because I do have a, this is a white liner pen by Signo, and I use this because a lot of people use those jelly rolls. They look like this, but I don't like them. I don't know why. They just don't seem to come out and get started and stick to the wax of this Prismacolor. Excuse me. So I use these. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to have a white line going in and out of here or not. So we're just going to wait on that. And that's the fun thing about doing stuff like this, is that you could just practice on it on the side and then later on figure out what you're going to do. So now what we're going to do now is we're going to do one more just so you can get the idea here. So let's do another one. We'll do this one right here. So we're going to take the blue, okay, and we're going to start over here about right about where you think. You can even block it out. So let's say you want it to go right about here, is about where you want them. So now you just put in your little feathers and put in your feathers. Like so. Okay. You can always go back and make it darker or whatever. Like I just saw a little spot in there I might want to touch up. So you can always go back in and do whatever you want. And you can also, like, I just happen to grab this one. There's no way of doing it. Like, you don't have to do this one, then the orange. And you just, you know, as long as you know that you want some darker ones in here, you could just put your darker ones in right away if you want. That's the thing about it. You could do whatever you want. And you really want to have a sharp tip. This really isn't sharp enough even. I like it. You want them those to look like little hairs almost, you know. Okay, so now I'm going to grab this. This is the neon yellow. And I'm going to put some neon yellow in here. Because I know orange is going down here. I might not put as much yellow there, but it makes it pop out, so I guess it doesn't matter. And then I just fill in this area in here. And I love those tips to be nice and light. Actually, I would prefer this to be lighter, but that's okay because we can vary each one. Okay, now I'm going to take this spring green, put in the spring green. I'm kind of doing them in between where I already had the other color, you know what I mean? Where I had the neon yellow, or wherever. I just throw it in there, however, however you feel. Okay, then we're going to put in the apple green. Okay, so pretty. Okay. Okay, now we're going to put in some orange. I probably went up too high in the green up in here. I would really like to have the orange stand out more. So, but that's okay because I have another leaf to do. On the next leaf I can do that. Maybe this one's just to mix with a little bit of green. The other ones might have more orange in them, less orange. They can vary. It's okay. All right? You just don't want it to look like they're stripes. So it's kind of good when you put them, you know, bring the colors into one another. You know. Now this is the peacock green. As you can see, I'm going over the orange on this one a little bit more, but that's okay. I'll just keep going. Now in here it's going to be shaded because it's underneath here, so I'm going to start shading this leaf here. Go on the sides. Now I could start putting in the love. Putting in the love. I need some love. Now the reason I'm not shading above this, just so you know, is because this is up high. Now you could put a little line here if you want, like just a little bit of an accent line, but if you shade it too thick up, the sun would be, you know, whatever's up on top is where the highlight would be, and then underneath is where the low light is. So you don't want to put too much here. The more of the shading would go on this side. Well, depending on where your light is, because if your light's coming from this side, then it would be opposite, but in this case, it's not. I love this picture. It's so pretty. Alright, so now, say I'm just adding a little bit of shade wherever I feel like it needs it. Okay. And again, I'm not sure what, and you want to sharp tip because I think I might put a little shade in here. Because like I say, I'm not sure if I want to make this white or not. I won't know till the end, but that's okay. And a lot of times when you're doing a picture, you won't either. You just kind of go with it. That's why those color charts that I'm going to give you and that I've been making are great, because you could pull out a color chart and pick all the colors that you want and then do it and then kind of know almost what the colors are going to look like. But then at the end you might want to change something, add a little more or whatever. Okay, now we're going to take that neon orange. Now I usually wait for the neon orange because it's so bright, and I really want to see where I want that neon orange to go, but I covered it up with so much green that you're not going to really see that much of it anyways. Maybe I'll accentuate it up here where the yellow is. See, now, because the yellow was underneath it, it kind of popped it in, and as you could see down here, it didn't do that. Now, just to do a little test, I want to show you, in case something like this happens where it's a little darker than you'd like it to be, where it's not like, see how this is really bright and popping out, and this is more dull and dreary, which is fine, you want a variation. But I use this eraser technique. I actually have a video on how to actually blend using these, but you can go in and pick that out and say, okay, so now, you see, now I took some of that out, and then you can go back in and put it back in, which is great, right? That's why you don't have to be afraid of these things. But see, now it's already popping out a little bit better. So now we can put that neon orange in, okay? And now we can just go back and relayer that. So let's go add some more of the regular orange in here, right? So now we got our orange leaves. Now we got orange leaves. Now we want to fix that green because I kind of messed up on the green now, right? So we're going to put some of that green back in. But see how easy that is? How you can just play around. And now I actually like that little bright piece right here. See how that brightness comes out? I love that. And see how it's light here where it's nice and light? You want to do that. You want to keep the lights and the darks because that's what's really going to make it really pop out. Now we're going to put in our little fella. So we're gonna, I'm thinking it goes right about here. So if you want, you can make a little dot, and maybe even a dot where you think you want it to end, if that'll help you with judging how big you want it. So then you can kind of just come down, and then, you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean, man? You know what I mean, Ming? All right, so now we just fill that in. Okay, there we go. And I make it. I like to make that tip a little pointy and kind of come down like that. Just kind of looks coolage. It looks cool. It looks cool, man. Okay, so I'm gonna go, and by the magic of my camera, this is gonna be all filled in. Now look at that. Can you just imagine when I come back, it's gonna look all gorgeous, filled up like that. So I can't wait to see yours. So make sure that you go to my Facebook page, and it's Extreme Coloring on Facebook, and I want to see your guys' pictures because maybe you're going to do them different colors or whatever, but anyway. Alright, so I'm going to finish this up, and I'm going to come back and teach you more fun stuff. So by the magic of my camera, it's all done. Doesn't that look pretty? So bright. Now, so what I did here at the end, I mean, just so you know, I did use my white, my Signo pen, and I did make the dots in the white. And then I used the neon yellow, or not the neon yellow. I used that here on the edges because it had like a green look to it. So, you know, if you don't like that look, that's cool. Or you can do it in any one of those colors. You can even outline it in black if you wanted to. However, but at least you know what it looks like if you did it in that, you know, the colors that I used, okay? So now we're going to do some more fun stuff, and I think we're going to, I'm going to wait to do this part till a little bit later. So I think we're going to do, I don't know, maybe we're going to work on this little wing right here. And so let's get going with that. And this right here will happen in part 2. So this is the end right here of part 1, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to leave any comments or anything like that, feel free. And so let's go and get on with part 2.